Hello and welcome back to another in-depth weather video. Today we are going in-depth into a nor'easter. Not a significant nor'easter, but a nor'easter nonetheless. Let's get right on into it, starting off with the National Weather Service page. We do have winter weather advisories in effect for parts of New England, such as northern Connecticut, central Massachusetts, parts of southern New Hampshire, except for the coastal sections, and parts of southwest Maine. So let's move on here to the HRRR model, which is the highest resolution model that we have access to. And we're going to be using this because we are so close to this storm. So throughout the early morning hours on Monday, we are expecting the temperatures to stay relatively cold in the northeast, but with some freezing precipitation, such as freezing rain, snow, sleet, starting to kind of etch into the region slowly in showers. And eventually we will see this turn more into a steady rainfall along the coastlines. And if we take a look at some soundings here, such as areas around eastern Long Island, you can see that the temperature differences are going to be very important here, because this area that I just clicked on is going to be having rainfall, and that is just because this number down here is 33 instead of 32. Now, freezing rain will be common throughout this entire storm, since the upper levels of the atmosphere could be above freezing, and sleet as well for that same reason. It just depends on how much of the upper atmosphere is above freezing and where in the upper atmosphere. So just overall wintry precipitation further inland, not exactly along the coast, but we see this is right around noon Monday. We are seeing wintry precipitation in most of Connecticut, New York, except for, southern New York, except for Long Island and the actual 5 boroughs, and then parts of northeast New Jersey. Now, most of this will be very light, but some areas could see moderate, maybe some areas, some very isolated heavy snow, sleet, or freezing rain amounts. But the main system is still not in yet. So this is all very light, and we see this start to push through and start to warm up much of the region. This is now moving into 2 p.m. on Monday. So we continue to move on, and we start to see where this storm slowly moves into colder and colder air, and that line is going to be right in here, where you will have some areas such as, coastal Connecticut, parts of eastern Massachusetts staying in that warm precipitation, but just areas inland, like inland Connecticut, inland Massachusetts, inland New Hampshire, staying in that freezing, in that wintry precipitation. And some areas are just on the brink here, especially those getting that freezing rain could switch over to normal rain at any point here. But again, most of this is going to stay light to moderate. Now, we continue to move through, and we still really aren't in the main event yet. We start to etch into the main event here. This is right around 7 p.m. on Monday. And you can see areas of New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts getting that moderate to heavy snowfall, and that continues to move into some of the regions of Maine, excluding the very coastal regions. We also see some more consistent moderate precipitation in parts of the mid-Atlantic, including southern New Jersey, most of New Jersey except for the northwest corner, all of Delaware, eastern Maryland, eastern Virginia, Long Island, coastal Connecticut, as well as parts of eastern Massachusetts, eastern Connecticut, and Rhode Island. But that same area with that winter precipitation will persist. And we could see areas staying, such as here in Connecticut, staying as freezing precipitation the entire time throughout the duration of the storm. And we could see, now we're moving into Tuesday morning around 1 a.m., still freezing precipitation moving through the region, more in the form of freezing rain. As this storm moves closer, more of that warm air will start to infiltrate the upper levels of the atmosphere, but the freezing temperatures will still persist in the lower levels of the atmosphere in some spots, but coastal areas really don't have to deal with this either, as you guys will be more affected by the Atlantic here, which will be creating some more heat on the lower levels of the atmosphere. But as we continue to move throughout the day on Tuesday, this is now into, let's call that 3 a.m. Tuesday morning, you start to see some more consistent, moderate snowfall in parts of Maine, New Hampshire, and then some light to moderate wintry precipitation in parts of Vermont, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. But this system eventually moves off, with some areas on the back end seeing a little bit of snow for the first time, such as areas of eastern Massachusetts potentially getting some snowfall, but that is much less likely. But on that back end, we do see potentially some heavy snowfall in parts of down east Maine that could be seeing maybe even up to a foot. But let's go through temperatures here, because I think they are very important with this storm, since most of the time as this storm moves through, you can see that temperature gradient kind of start to move in here, and most of these areas even receiving that wintry precipitation will be close to the coast, but not necessarily at the coast. You can see these tiny pockets of areas below freezing will make all the difference. And many of these areas that won't be seeing, I mean, except for the areas right along the coast, such as Long Island could be near 40, Massachusetts, like Boston, could be near 40, but areas like New York City, right around 35, areas like Hartford's at 29, we have areas like Bridgeport at 34. These areas that are going to be in rain, but are very close to having that wintry precipitation persist. So it's just the very slightest changes in temperature that will really make the difference here, and that is why this storm is and has been very hard to kind of get a gauge on, since we do have this mass change in temperature just throughout the entire storm. Just temperatures going up and then down, and some areas staying in that colder temperatures, some areas staying warmer temperatures. It's going to come down to a degree in most spots. If you're below freezing or at freezing, you will get wintry precipitation. If you are above freezing, you will stay as plain rain. Most of these areas right around that 31, 32 will probably be freezing rain, and then the areas around that high 20s will probably be more sleet or snow because of the upper atmosphere as well. So that is also one thing that we do have to look for. But fine details will make a huge difference. In terms of snow totals, we are going to see, some areas such as western and central Connecticut seeing an inch or two. Central Massachusetts seeing that 0 to 3, maybe even some 3 to 6. Then we'll see areas right along the Connecticut River potentially get that 3 to 6, and then 6 to 12 in parts of New Hampshire and Maine. Then in terms of ice, you can see that area that we were talking about earlier, parts of inland Connecticut, central Massachusetts, parts of northeast New Jersey as well, could see even up to, in some spots, a half an inch of ice. I think the most significant area for icing here is going to be more into that area of central and western Connecticut and central Massachusetts, just because you're going to have that temperature changing quickly, and potentially that upper level being just warmer than freezing, melting any snow coming down, and then refreezing on the ground. So prepare for snow and ice across most of interior New England. But that is all I have for today. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell. And I'll see you guys next time.